on the design is what we'll then do today, which is all about resolving the joint problem. So that's not a pretty big thing, simple, straightforward, but then yes, becomes essential or critical when you are trying to talk about a couple of concepts in the real world. So what happens when you are working on universes? So what happens is essentially every universe is made of multiple tables and or objects which are linked together. Now during this process of linking one universe to the another, or maybe one table to the another, you might run into different kind of loop problems. The one that is most commonly talked about and which happens is the force on loops. These two are
Amit, are you recording the lecture?
yes, I am. Yep. Okay. Thanks. And the other two, that is chasm and fan traps, they are more of an interest from a theoretical perspective, or if you are preparing for some certifications, there you might see a reference to this term. But practically loops is what you'll be dealing with. But then it's not all the time. But yes, for some specific designs, you might be into a loop problem.
Okay, but we don't come across traps and fan traps very frequently, right?
Yes, not even loops. It's just that
not even loops.
Yeah, not even loops. Yes, so it's not it's kind of not a guaranteed stuff that every time you create a universe you'll have a loop. No, but only for some complex structures as keep creating them without realizing a loop is formed. So we then must
most of the real-time work we don't come across these things. It's very rare, right?
You could say that. I would say probably for loop formation in a real-time universe design, it's about 30 to 85%.
Okay.
So depending upon what data warehouse, data mart you have for the reporting application, that would help us decide. But I've seen mostly for big warehouses which are with some Kimball strategies, they run into loops. So we'll see what they really mean here. Okay, and then to resolve a loop, there are three options. What you will do most of the time is the first two, that's alias and context, which help you resolve the loops. Okay. I think just before this, let's talk about a concept, okay? So that would help us understand what loops are, why they happen. Okay, so in warehousing, you know what a star schema is.
Yes.
Right. I think I might have discussed this previously as well, but again, let's do it. We were talking about a concept called conformed dimensions. So where I was saying, what happens? You got, let's say, one data structure, data mart structure called. So that's again a dimension. Maybe this is customer, short for C. This could be, let's say, a time dimension, and this could be products dimension. So like you're a company who sells our products to different customers. So this was one data mart you created. Tomorrow you would create another data mart here, which has its own fact table. So maybe here you were trying to record, let's say, the inventory.
Okay.
And on the other one you are trying to capture the sales. So this one talks about inventory, this data warehouse tries to talk about sales. Now what happens, you got two of the dimensions here in common.
Okay.
So the same fact now refers to the product and refers to the time dimension. And in parallel you might have another unique dimension for this sales. Let's say if it's inventory, it could be stores. So you got some products being kept in the warehouse in the stores. So a third dimension. So if you look over, the interesting part which would help us further understand loop will be this area, the one which is common to both of them.
Okay.
Right. So that's how the loop definition would really work out. So essentially, okay, first of all, what this is called. So this is what the Kimball approach would call as a conformed dimension. So conformed dimensions mean you got different data marts. So here, like, this was one data mart, this was the second data mart. Now these are conformed because they have some common dimensions being shared across. So like the time and the product is common to this fact, and is also common to this fact. So it's a conformed dimension.
Okay.
Now, so what then exactly loop is? It's a kind of joins. As I said, when you keep working on universes, you have multiple tables to join together. These tables finally might enter into kind of situation where you see a circuit or a loop formation. It's a kind of closed cycle which comes back to the originating table, and that's how you would define its
Okay.
loop. Okay. The reason, as it says here, is the joins that form between multiple paths between lookup tables. So if you consider my earlier definition of a confirmed dimension, you'll try and see it this way. See what happened? First of all, this is a loop. Reason, if you start from this table country, you can actually tread the whole path and then you come back at the same table, because that's how the joins take it back. So it's a loop.
Okay.
Now,
Okay.
if you look at why this loop might be there in place, so one of the methodologies that we talked earlier is this is a loop because there are two different paths. So this is one portion of it, and this is another portion. They are in loop because this and this table or dimensions are forming a kind of common between them. So you see a loop formation in place.
Okay.
Now that's how the conformed dimension come to picture. So if you remember earlier, I was saying in a conformed dimension model, two facts have common dimensions.
Okay.
So here you could say that this is odd.
So it is called loop because the upper portion, the below portion, it's like a kind of loop formation. Is that the reason?
Oh, sorry, could you come again, Sandesh? Sorry, missed that.
No. So the upper country or
Resort as a service line.
Service line, service. It is one loop and the other one is country, region.
No. This complete is one loop. That means starting right from this country, you would tread. See, loop essentially is like any cycle. So starting from country,
it's like a cycle. Okay.
it's a cycle, correct? Okay. Yes. Okay. So as it says, loop defines a closed path. So it's a cycle. Yes. Now I'm just trying to see, why would you actually end up in a loop? If it's not correct, what makes you to land in a loop? So one of the commonly seen reasons is that when you talk about conformed dimensions, which as I was just saying earlier, you have two facts which have common dimensions. So here you could look at probably resort is one of the facts. Okay. Region is another fact. And they had this country dimension in common. So it's a dimension which is in common. So what happened was, though this was supposed to be two different paths, this is one and this is second. But since the country and similarly the invoice line dimensions were in common between them, you see that service is also linked like this and this is also linked like this. So finally, both the sides are closed and you see a loop.
Okay.
Right, so that's one of the reasons. Okay, let's try and first depict something similar on our end as well. Okay, so on this one, okay, orders new. Okay, you could do this like orders is linked to customers on the basis of customer ID. So orders new is a alias of orders, and even it has got a customer ID. So I could have done like this. I could have said, okay, this customer ID is also related to this one. Okay. So you could say, okay, tools, check integrity. So it should report that there is one of the loops in there because I see a circle forming. Okay, check loop. So it says one loop. Now if you click on this, you would see that it highlights all the tables which are a part of that loop. So you would say, let's say you start from shippers, you go to orders, customers, orders new, and back to shippers. So this is loop or cycle formation happening. Okay, this one, let's highlight the path. So it goes like this, comes back. Is this clear?
Yes.
Cool. Okay. Now, so the reason, so this is one of the examples. The reason here was that what happened was we had two different copies or two different contexts of the orders.
So in real time, you mean to say that usually we don't come across these things, right? Loops.
Yes, you don't. So it's not that every time, see, because it's not necessary that every time you're working in a conformed dimension or every time you'll have such table joins that it creates a loop. No, that's not the case. Okay. But sometimes when you do come across, and so what happens when your universe design is complete, maybe you're working on a big universe, let's say there are about 20 to 22 tables, so it does not fit in the same screen. Here I've got just 7, 8 of them. It fits in properly. Now there, maybe without realizing, if you would export the universe to the central repository,
Okay.
the export succeeds. That's not a problem. But if someone tries to
Okay.
create a problem on top of, if someone tries to create a report on top of that universe, that's where he would face problems. It wouldn't allow him to create a report. So that's why it's necessary to detect loops,
So,
if any, and resolve.
so yeah, if he can't create a report, then he has to come back and check whether
Yes,
there's
you
any
know,
loop, right?
and no, the best part is if he's a report user, right? All he says is there's a problem. So he might write in a mail saying there's a problem. I wasn't able to create reports. My day got wasted. But since he's not a BO developer, he might not know why the real problem is. Even the best part, the error is very generic. All it will say is incompatible incompatible object types. So this is all he sees on the screen. So he has no way to figure out if there's a loop. Maybe he doesn't even know what a loop is. Your business analyst might not know what a loop is in BO. Right. So therefore, before we export, right, it's standard practice all the time. We keep doing this. That you go to the tools and you say check integrity, and then you run all these checks. So there, if you see a loop, you have to resolve it.
Okay.
So here it says, okay, the loop is from shipper. So it gives you that path and says what? Okay, not solved by any context. So that means the loop is there and it's not solved as of yet. So going back to the slide, I said there are three ways to resolve: alias, context, and separate queries. Alias is a very commonly used fundamental, or the way which developers resort to. But in business objects, good practices say that alias is not the right way to resolve a loop. Though it's very easy, but then it's not the right way. So business objects would recommend to use context to resolve loops. So we'll look at both the options. And separate queries and measures is what I'll also try and talk at the end.
Okay.
Okay. So now to break this loop, first of all, if I was to talk in simple terms, I say, okay, how do you break the loop? So you would say the solution is, if I could have taken one of the links, any one, maybe this one, or this one, or this one, or so if there's no link or no loop, it gets resolved. Okay. Now in our case, let's understand or try and at least see, why a loop might be formed. So if you were looking at, let's say, that problem here, like a loop, and I would say, okay, how do you think you could resolve a loop? So the first thing is that why does this loop occur at all? So region, you got two tables which are common, like country and invoice line, which are connecting two different paths together, and you see a loop. So you might say, okay, let's create an alias or a copy of the country. So this alias is linked to this one. This link is taken off, and this country is only connected to this one. Then there's no loop formation. Similarly, if you want, you could also do the invoice line. So that's our alias creation method. So here all you need to do is, okay, let's go back. Okay, so here what I'll do is, okay, so shippers, let's say there's a common table between both. So I would say, okay, let's create an alias of the shipper. So any name to that. So I say shipper slope. Now I'll take out this link from here. Okay. So this shipper is joined to this one. Similarly, I'll create a loop between these two. Shipper ID and ship via. Okay. Now, if you look at the way we have solved this, we start from here. We would not end up in a loop all the time. Reason, this link, which was there earlier, is now broken. So loop is gone. So we say tools.
So, but why, like, shipper ID and shipper ID, shipper ID from shippers and shipper ID from shipper loop? So,
I didn't get your question.
Okay. So,
Oh, I
you
see.
created a new
Alias. Okay, I get your point. So probably you might say that you have two shipper IDs on the left hand side to display.
Yeah.
Okay, but see, then though that's correct, right? But the context or the way you look at information is different. So just for example, I think we don't have the employee table here, right? If I had that employee, Okay, let's quickly add it to